All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army, episode 2.261. We got a lot to talk about this week. We're going to start out with headlines. We'll talk Premier League spending rules, Club World Cup TV deals, and MLS poaching. Weekly what if, Salah versus Klopp. Oh, yes, Dalton's excited. Premier League, we'll talk North London Derby and where we go from here at both the top and bottom of the table. Around the world, we got Champions Leagues or Champions League like tournaments on both sides of the Atlantic. And then stoppage time with Ivan Toney's best bets and everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. And stay tuned. We're getting back on the interview kick here, at least for a moment. I got a fun conversation coming up with a recent addition to the Chicago Fire, Kellen Acosta, who everybody remembers from LAFC and Colorado and the U.S. men's national team. So stay tuned. He talks a little bit about how I can up my my fashion game, which is a sorely needed subject on for me. So stay tuned for that. Now it is time to welcome in this week's panel of beauties, starting with the non-Tweedle participant this week, Dalton Kemper, fresh off a lad's trip to Cancun. We're going to do a little personal weekly what if here for you, Dalton. So hypothetically, would you trade that trip to paradise for Liverpool not stinking up the joint coming down the stretch here?
Oh, 100%. 1,000%. By the way, I saw nothing was as crazy in Mexico as Bam Adebayo just getting a flagrant foul for what he just got a flagrant for in this Heat Celtics game. But that's beside the point. But yeah, I would 100% have traded that week for. It was so dejecting watching Everton Liverpool on vacation. Like
Yeah,
I expect
tough.
it. Like if I'm at work on a 2 o'clock and I got the game on, I'm like, you know what? It sucks a lot, but my day it is made significantly worse. But the drop off is much higher when you're on a beach in Mexico to losing to Everton midweek. The drop off is just absurd. So yeah,
It's
I would absolutely have traded it. Yeah, for
it's
sure.
tough coming back from that. I will say, not to play devil's advocate here, but at least you can go back to your, Mai Tais or fruity
Yeah,
drinks and just sort of
yeah.
forget about it. But yeah, I hear you. I mean, there's
The
nothing.
tequila sunrises did save me after that.
There you
Yeah,
go. There
yeah.
you go. We'll get back to Liverpool and the sadness in your neck of the woods. And of course, we'll get to the sadness. I'm in my neck of the woods, who Mikey Fowler, Tweedle A, Tweedle D, not dumb or dumber, but Mr. Tweedle of this week's podcast. Before we get to the happiness of your life at the moment, which is the other side of the coin of the sadness of mine, Mikey, tell us, what is your favorite thing about Philadelphia and why I'm even asking you this?
I have to move there. It's not quite London. Work has beckoned me to fucking Philly. I don't know what I love about it yet. I really don't have that answer. Check back in eventually. But yes, I will be fucking occupying Philadelphia for the next couple of years here. So we'll see how that goes.
You
I'll give
sound
you constant updates, and I'm sure you'll see the pictures from a new city.
That's right. From you, listen, that you're actually a very good photographer. Me and you and Tommy have talked about this a little bit. I haven't seen a lot of your artwork lately. Hopefully, we'll see some more from the brotherly love city. It's funny that you talk about sort of not being so excited, but you'll probably get there and you probably love it. So,
Yeah, it'll be fine.
yeah. All right, let's head on down to headlines. So we will start with the talk of the town in the Premier League over the course of the last week, when they're not talking about Liverpool stinking or the North London Derby. So the big talking point from a headlines perspective has been the spending cap, which sounds like, so they didn't actually vote on it this week, but they did decide to vote on it. The next best thing, I suppose. What they're basically doing is they're tying spending moving forward. This is going to start in 2025, 26. I believe that's when it's coming into force. They're basically going to tie the amount of spending every club can do to a fixed multiple of what the lowest earning club in the Premier League makes from their, what commercial sponsorship deals and broadcast deals, et cetera, et cetera. So, it seems like this is this is something that's been sort of talked about. They have to do something. A lot of people think anyway. Mikey, what or Dalton, either one, whoever wants to speak on this first. Well, there's some risks here. There's some benefits here. Which one outweighs the other? Mikey, you're not muted, so I'm going to you first.
Um, Listen, anything in the spirit of increasing parity is good. Rewards teams with good academies, ultimately helps the development, and then therefore creating new stars on the teams that we love. So right now there isn't a huge opportunity for that. I mean, it's much more valuable to bring in a guy like Ross Barkley at Luton than it is to develop somebody. So if you can reinvest that money into academies and teams that go up for that 1 year, focus on spending that money wisely, then anything in the spirit of that, I think is good. And also, like, the elephant in the room here is, like, are we going to let Newcastle develop, or are we going to nip this in the bud before it gets there? So I'm all in favor of not letting Newcastle develop by any means necessary.
And by develop, you mean like actually just sort of?
I mean, like
spending
Mbappe driving around Tyneside, like
right.
Not like bullshit, crazy stuff.
For sure. There's a lot of ways to talk about this subject, because there's a lot of different perspectives. Like, you hear a lot of the people talk about, La Liga fans who are, primarily, watching the Spanish League or Bundesliga fans. And they'll be like, this is great because it potentially, sort of hamstrings the Premier League a little bit, right? If the big thing about the Premier League is they become the biggest, best, highest profile league in the world because they spend the most, right? I mean, that's just facts right there. And they spend the most because they can spend the most, because they make the most. This has at least theoretically, has the possibility of, if you just sort of hear spending caps, maybe they won't be able to spend quite as much. And that would allow Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga, these types of teams, these types of leagues to, speaking of parity, Mikey, maybe bring those leagues a little closer to on par with the Premier League. But then if you actually dig down, and we're talking about like 4 times or 5 times the multiple of what the lowest earning team was. And I looked at The Athletic had a story. They basically said that the cap would have been 500 million this past summer. And there was only one team that was higher than that, and that is Chelsea, of course, who spent their balls off. So I'm not convinced.
Yeah, but there will be teams higher than that.
Yeah.
Soon.
Okay. Well, that's certainly a valid point, and I guess we'll see on that. Dalton, what are your thoughts? And just from the top, would you say net positive, net negative?
Oh, I like this, especially as a team that's on a shoestring budget. No, I do think it's a good idea. It's gonna be, I think, enough that's like gonna prevent anyone from going crazy, but you're still gonna have the ability, if you're one of those top teams, to spend well enough to be good. So I don't think it's gonna like limit those teams. And it also goes to, like, this is also on the books finances. We know what City does off the books, right? Like, does any of this matter to them? I don't think so. Like, Newcastle's gonna be doing the same shit unless they're held liable in that area of, like, this all has to be public, or not public, but to the Premier League. It all has to be fair in that way. I don't know if it's gonna matter, because those two specifically are gonna keep things off the book that they don't report, and isn't going to count towards this number, because on that article, I read the same one about Chelsea would have been the only one over the limit. If City reported everything, they're 100% over that limit too.
Well, we'll see. We're sort of talking about this in the abstract when we have this very real situation with 115 charges that we don't even know what's going to happen there. So if City gets off scot-free on that, or something similar to scot-free, yeah, I mean, this won't even matter anyway, because we will have already lost whatever faith we have in the Premier League's ability to force people to follow their rules. So I guess that's step number one. It is worth pointing out there were 3 clubs that are, at least according to, I believe, Sky Sports, 3 clubs that are against this measure. It was Manchester United, Manchester City, and Aston Villa, which I was a little surprised by. I don't really know why Villa would be, other than they see that they're hoping to keep Newcastle down. I don't know. It's an interesting situation there. I guess we'll see. This is just sort of I don't know. This isn't the first trial balloon, but it's the biggest one. So there'll be much more to talk about on this subject coming up. But we'll move on. So second on headlines, Club World Cup, FIFA Club World Cup coming up next summer here in the U.S. The big news over the past week was that the FIFA is supposedly nearing a deal for a TV deal, and it is with, drum roll, Apple TV. Interesting. So Apple TV, obviously, their biggest move in the soccer space is with MLS, which is a deal that we haven't really sort of talked about over the past few months. Sort of what our sense. I got to be honest, I'm souring just a little bit on it. The fact that nothing surprising, right? Apple clearly brings a lot to the table, but I just like the fact that people can't watch MLS on a week-to-week basis for the most part. I don't know. We've discussed the pluses and minuses. That just doesn't sit very well with me. But anyway, Club World Cup allegedly closing in on a deal with Apple TV. Dalton, yes or no? Like, hate?
I'm kind of in the middle because I know personally I'm just not crazy about the expanded Club World Cup in general. I think it's going to be treated as a friendly by most European teams, so we're not really going to get a true gauge and like a true competitive tournament. I think the South American teams, all the other teams are going to take it pretty seriously, but you want the best competing, and it's all up to Europe if they're going to give you that. Not that I'm not interested in those matchups between, say, an MLS team and a South American team, because I will be very intrigued. But I do love that Apple, if they pay for it, they're going to put some effort towards it, versus if it's on Fox and they just do a terrible job at everything they do, that it's going to end up like that. So I'm happier that it's Apple than like someone like Fox. I'll say that.
All right. I mean, obviously the counter argument there is that if it's on Fox, a whole lot more people are going to be watching, and a whole lot more people, sort of the casual fans who, if we're trying to grow the game, that there is something to be said there. Mikey, what do you think? Apple TV? Or are you just sort of
not a Club World Cup consumer by any means, but
nobody is right now, right? I mean, like when we think
Sure.
of the Club World Cup, nobody is. This is supposedly going to be a new thing. Of course, it'll have to start smallish and grow. We'll see. We don't know if the European teams are going to take it seriously, as Dalton said. And if they don't, that will put a real damper on it. But you're just sort of on the fence and not really paying attention yet.
Yep.
That's fair.
Hey, you want the opinion?
No, that's fair. Almost lastly, MLS. Big news out of Indianapolis. Midwest nice. Not so much. Midwest not nice going on there. So the Indy 11 had this big sort of high profile development deal. I think it was for like 1.5 billion. It was going to be centered around a 20,000 seat stadium that would have been for Indy 11. And, this would have been USL Championship. Well, it sounds like MLS is throwing some money around behind the scenes, and the mayor of Indianapolis is not being very nice. He might go back on his deal with Indianapolis or Indy 11 to support that USL specific deal. And he thinks he might be able to get an MLS team. So MLS, I understand why he would do that. And I certainly understand why MLS would want to go to Indianapolis. It still feels to me, just from a non-business person perspective, it feels yucky, right? It feels like, Indy 11 has been there for however long. They've established themselves. They've got a fan base. They've sort of been building, just sort of bringing soccer to the masses in the Indiana, in Indianapolis area, and MLS just to come in and just be like, thanks, see ya. I mean, that's business, right? That's business 101, but it just doesn't sit right with me. I don't know. Dalton or Mikey, any thoughts here?
People are going to get rich.
Not Indy 11, though.
No.
Yeah.
It is impossible. You see people all the time saying like, MLS doesn't care about the growth of the game in the country. They only care about the growth of their product and making themselves more money, which we all know billionaires like that. It's impossible to defend MLS and say they're not doing that when you see something like this, to deliberately go into markets with successful USL teams and say, actually, we want to be here because you're doing so well. And whether you like it or not, it's going to kill you. It literally will kill these USL clubs. So it's shady, it's gross, and it's, from my perspective, just impossible to defend MLS doing this. I hate it. I hate every second of it for those fans of like the Indy 11. But like Mikey said, they're gonna get the money wherever they can get it. And if they see a successful soccer market and they're not in it, they're gonna want to be a part of it.
Right. There's something to be said with MLS not necessarily targeting cities just where USL is doing well. It's just the biggest cities that they're not in for the most part. So, there's some sort of just obvious strategy behind it that isn't necessarily just trying to F over USL. It still doesn't feel great. Even the teams that have gone in to the cities that I'm actually big fans of, like the St. Louis City, Charlotte FC, like I love how they've gone about it. It's still, there's part of me that's like, still feels bad that the USL teams in both cities basically are getting hurt by that. And Indy 11 is the next one on the radar. And that stinks because, the USL is like, we've talked about it before. People put in so much hard work at a grassroots level. It's not about the money, at least not yet. And for some of these teams, like San Diego is another one. I should have said them off the top. It just stinks. I feel bad for the people who put in a lot of hard work and time to build that up. Anyway, last and probably least, just a quick throwaway. La Liga president Javier Tebas always wants to be in headlines. This time, it's for saying that the league will play an official match in the US by 2025-2026, which is not a surprise based on, the recent sort of judgments that have been going the way of allowing that sort of thing. And when we've talked the pluses and minuses of that. I got to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of it. I kind of like the idea of going to Spain to watching La Liga, or to watch La Liga, and sort of the romance of seeing the teams play in their stadiums with their fans. But on the other hand, I do understand that is expensive as hell. And, a lot of people want to watch games here and can't get over there. So I see both sides of it. Whatever. We'll move on. Weekly what if time. I got to get Dalton hot and bothered here. So I had a great weekly what if that somebody sent in, but I'm going to nix it and move it to next week. And instead, we got to go with a cage match. Mo Salah versus Jurgen Klopp. And I think everybody probably understands why we're asking this based on, last weekend's little tete-a-tete on the sideline where
something happened.
Yeah, did you miss that in Cancun?
Yeah. I wish I did.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I bet. So at the time anyway, I believe Liverpool was up 2-1. When they
just became 2-2.
No, it started when it was 2-1, and then it went.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it happened. They went 2 just to make just to pour a little bit extra gasoline on it. I don't know what Jurgen Klopp said to Mo Salah, but he was inserting him into the game along with Darwin Nunez. And somebody else, I can't remember who else, but they're all going in about the 71st minute of this 2-1 game where they were up at the time. And obviously Salah was not happy. I mean, he wanted to be in the game as any professional soccer player would, at that point. But then Salah I don't know what it was. It's so different. It's a side of Mo Salah that like we haven't seen. So that's I think obviously what really caught everybody's attention. And it's always been talked about, Jurgen Klopp is such a lovable guy and his players love him. Things are going sideways coming down the stretch. So obviously that played into things here. But Mo Salah, we'll give you the tail of the tape here for him and Jurgen Klopp. Mo Salah, 5'8", 156 pounds, 69-inch reach, 31 years old. So those are the stats on Mo Salah. On Jurgen Klopp, we got 6'3", So therefore, he's got the reach, 77 inches, weight 185 pounds, a little bit bigger, 56 years old. So, Dalton, you know your way around both of these guys. Cage match, only one comes out. Who's surviving that?
Yeah, I know them both personally very well. So, yeah, I'm taking Salah. I don't know if that's unpopular. I don't know what most people would say, but I'm taking Salah because that guy is shredded, in incredible shape, and can get around 10 times better than Jurgen Klopp, who couldn't help but pull his hamstring running up to the fourth official last season? Yeah. Yeah, last season in the Spurs game. Yeah. So last year, Klopp ran to the fourth official and pulled a hammy. Salah's not doing that. I'm taking Salah. Salah's going to use those legs to his advantage. Even if Klopp has the reach advantage, I think Salah's taking that one for sure.
Interesting. Mikey, what do you think?
I neither one of them is ever the type to throw a punch. They're both going to yell at each other's face until the first one passes out from exhaustion. So if 8 rounds the whole way through for a draw is an option, I'll take that.
I'm going with Jurgen's.
He just can't compliment anyone on Liverpool.
He's not willing to. Even after Liverpool's fallen out of the title race, he's still not willing to. I am going with Jurgen Klopp. 56 years old is not that old. Jurgen Klopp, yeah, you can.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Listen, no, it's not.
Yes, it is.
I'm not 56. I'm not
for a fist fight.
Yeah, listen, he's got he's 6'3". Is that what he was? 6'3".
I trust you.
He could basically hold Salah's head, and Salah could do that thing, on all the cartoons where he's just sort of winging it and hitting nobody. Salah, he's an world-class athlete. Obviously got the speed, stamina, all that. I think Jurgen Klopp's size and reach, we could talk about the hamstring, but he obviously wasn't warmed up. Give him a little time to warm up. If there's one thing about old people, and now I'm looping myself in on this, you got to give us some time to warm up. You got to stretch. Okay, we got to stretch. Once we get stretched, once we get going, well, some of us, not me, can be a problem. So I'm going with Jurgen Klopp on that. You guys are all wrong. I did look up the archive. I put it on the story. 73% of people said Jurgen Klopp. So you
really,
you were.
I'm glad I'm against the public.
You were. You're on the unpopular side of that. Interesting. All right. I would love to just talk about anything else, but I think it's time we talk about the matter at hand, and we move on to the Premier League. So the most interesting result of the weekend, not even going to throw that question out there. It's pretty obvious. The North London Derby lived up to its name. It was entertaining. It was interesting. There were some controversial talking points, as always. Rubber hits the road, though. Arsenal came out with the win, 3-2. And, as Mikey has either said or alluded to numerous times, they are involved in a title race. And we will talk about the ramifications of this because they get interesting. They get sticky. They get messy. I don't know. Spurs fans, we're gonna have a tough little road the next couple of weeks here. But let's talk about the game first, though, Mikey. So 3-2.
Let's let bygones be bygones. Honestly, now that this is behind us, I think we can both focus on what's important here, which is taking care of Manchester City
which is you not winning the goddamn
weeks.
Premier League. That's what's goddamn important if you really want to get down to brass tacks.
So we'll get to that question.
The only thing that matters, Mikey.
We'll get down to the hypothetical questions later about athletes and what their inner mental states really talking about at any given moment. But for the game itself, derbies in general seem to have a certain level of just drunken stupor to them. This one in particular, the North London Derby, I can't really remember the last normal one. The only difference between this one and the one last year is one of your fans didn't kick Aaron Ramsdale in the ass this time. It's an odd fixture, and it always will be. I think it was the weirdest first half lead I've ever felt because I don't think we played particularly well, not only in the first half, but I think for long stretches of this game, we didn't play particularly well. That's not to say you played particularly well. I just think the game itself was pretty poor by the standards that we're used to. Less controlled and for sure more poor than the usual. just the value of set pieces cannot be stressed enough in the title race and general soccer and at any level. It's pretty crazy how poor you are at defending them and how the adjustments were never made. I found out later that's a Vicario thing. He's kind of flaky on those set pieces, but he did poorly, I think, for 2 of those goals. And yeah, the game's margins were fortunately breaking our way. But I just want to take a quick second to say that if a goal had gone in late to tie that game up, it would have been quite possibly the worst thing ever. And it wasn't a fun experience, and I really do not like my club for what happened on Sunday. I really did not feel good, and I still don't. But what's done is done, and we move forward, and we both have our eyes on City now. So we got to come together.
we are not coming together, let me tell you. But I will agree with you. It did not feel like a game that was like particularly well played by either team. The own goal early, that hurts. I will say credit to Saka. That Spurs fans, we deserve to get a little bit of stick, the way they're getting on him still from the 2020 Euros. And then he just immediately scores, well, at least, help score an own goal.
Took a great goal.
Yeah, I mean, that was a hell of a finish by Højbjerg. I mean, listen, when you look at Spurs, this team is a lot of fun. They can play with anybody when we have our guys out there. We didn't have Porro, we didn't have Udogie, and when you have Højbjerg in the middle, we're not on the level of a team like Arsenal, of City, of Liverpool. We're just not there with the guys that were out there. So I actually thought that it was not particularly well played. I saw a lot of Spurs fans thinking that we deserved a penalty on the play that ended up with you scoring, I believe, the second goal. I disagree. I did not think that was a penalty.
Everyone in every broadcast booth in every country seemed to think it was.
It was interesting. I did hear a lot of people thinking it was as well. And I actually got shit on by a lot of Spurs fans for tweeting that I just didn't think it was a penalty. I just didn't think it was a penalty. If Spurs were the ones giving away that penalty and it was just like sort of innocent, accidental touch on Kulusevski's, his back heel, I would have felt hard done by. So that's sort of the measure I use the metric I use when deciding it. I thought it would have been weak if they had given it. I think it would have been difficult for VAR to overturn it at the same time.
Agreed.
But I was fine with how it went down, other than the fact that you guys went and scored another goddamn goal. That part really sort of, rubbed a little salt in the wounds. We came back. We showed some heart. I didn't think we played well on the day. I honestly am not sure that we deserve to only lose by 1 goal. But then at the same time, some of your goal, the own goal on the first one, the set piece on the third one, those weren't great goals either. Nope. So, it I guess maybe 3-2 is fair. I used my money from winning the over to, wash my tears away. Not really. I was very sad and very unhappy with the over cashing.
I was mad too, man.
I'm sure you were.
No, I'm serious. That was not a good time.
But yeah, the Arsenal, what is it? The first time in forever you guys have won back-to-back North London derbies on the road.
Not just white shirts forever.
It's been a while. Hasn't it been like, I don't think Wenger ever did it. I don't think he ever pulled that off. So yeah, it stinks. But I don't think we played well enough to win. I don't think the team out there was good enough to beat you guys. So, sort of deserve it is a naughty word in my mind when you talk about soccer, but it is what it is. And I guess go for it, Dalton.
Without Mickey Van de Ven at the end, Arsenal could have scored 5. Everyone knows how incredible he is and how goddamn fast that guy is now. But when Ange has the confidence to basically just leave him back and push everyone else forward when you're searching for a goal, it's just nuts to do. But then any ball that goes back there, he's getting it, and he's going to be the first one to it. It's insane.
Confidence is one word. Craziness is
crazy
another.
is another.
Klopp does the same thing with Van Dijk a lot. because Van Dijk
Yeah.
is pretty goddamn fast as well. Yeah, I mean Van de Ven is incredible. Thank God. Shout out to whoever gave Wolfsburg, I think, who gave us who sent him our way. Yeah, you know, Van de Ven and Romero are probably our MVPs on the day, if not the season. It's been
Pretty good strike for a defender.
Yeah. We got a great center back pairing. We just gotta surround him with
I like a lot of the pieces that you have. It's going to take some time, and it's going to take a midfielder that can really dictate the tempo, because I think you're lacking somebody who can truly grab the game.
Madison does it.
Madison does not do it.
Certain games he absolutely does. Not every game. And then some games we got, you know, Højbjerg in there, who's just
like Madison and Odegaard, I think are a different type of midfielder than what I'm talking about. I'm thinking it's more of like a single or a double pivot for you. And I don't really trust anybody with the ball at their feet in your midfield, to be fair.
Yeah, you know, Basuma and Højbjerg, they're
all the same type of player. They're like a ball winning midfield type of player. They're not really.
Yeah, we're a few pieces away from truly competing. But at the same time, we still have some big games to play. So we will get to those when we get to the week ahead. But quickly, the rest of the games here. Listen, it was just a no good, very bad week all around for Liverpool. They lost the Derby, the Merseyside Derby on was that Wednesday? I think it was Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
And then you drew with West Ham. I mean, like in a vacuum, drawing at West Ham, no less, is really not that bad of a result, but in this situation, obviously not acceptable. And I don't know. Can we just say you guys are out of the title race at this point?
Oh, it's over. It's over. At this point, it's just trying to win out these last few games. Like, just do what you can in the last few and make it a good season. It's already a good season, but I mean, it's turning into like 2-3 weeks now of just shit, and it's been really bad. And then you top that off with the little scuffle on the sideline, which I don't take much out of that, like I know a lot of people have, but it's been bad. Arne Slot is gonna have some work to do in the summer, so it's gonna be really interesting to see.
Yeah, well, before we move on, let's just get your take on the supposedly the hire of Arne Slot. I mean, he's coming off of a hell of a season, right?
A bald Eredivisie manager, you say.
Right. What could possibly go wrong?
Hopefully he brings some of his guys with him.
Yeah, like Anthony. No. Everything I've read about him, I like him. He has more charisma than Ten Hag, thank God. Not hard to be better than negative. But no, I like him a lot. He seems like he has the right personality to be a Liverpool manager. I'm most excited because I love Klopp. I will always love Klopp, but I am so tired of giving up the first goal. I am so tired of that. And everything I've read, all the statistics I've seen is that Slot is much more controlled, is much more pragmatic in the build-up, even though it can go very quickly. And I'm really excited for it. I think the defense is going to improve massively, which is something that's been glaring for a couple of years now for Liverpool. So I am excited for what he can bring. It's going to mean some players are out, as with any new coach, but there's going to be new players in. And I am excited. I think, like I said, I love Klopp. I want to make that known, but it feels like this is the right time. Like, if Klopp wanted to continue, I'd say it's perfectly fine. He can continue doing that. But if there's ever a time for the transition to happen, I think this year is the perfect time to do it.
The last few weeks, obviously, sort of recency bias, it puts a little bit of a damper on the whole situation. But listen, Klopp's done well.
You'd rather lose this way than hang on till the last day and not, and then watch City not drop a point from now to the end. I mean,
I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's
so it's not the end of the world. And to be fair, like, narrative was going to be your best hope, and that's not usually a good strategy.
I do think, like, I've come on this podcast and I've been like, oh, we're winning the league. We're the best team in the league. But this team was not ready. I think it's very clear now. Like, the midfield is brand new. The team just wasn't ready. And that's fine. To get back into Champions League is a good step. good founding block, good foundation piece for next year, and that's perfectly fine. It doesn't have to be Premier League or bust. And I am kind of glad we were out of that title race by Sunday, because I would be so pissed at Chris Wood if we were still in that title race. It would
My
be
God.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay. Some of the other results that were just sort of notable, that Villa Chelsea game was a hell of a game. Chelsea, they're showing signs of life coming down the stretch here. You know, we'll see what that means. Unfortunately, Spurs have to play them this week. Not great timing on
You
that.
won't have any trouble.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
I'm being
There he goes
serious and
again.
genuine.
There he
No,
goes
no.
again.
As a guy that played both these teams this week, I don't have any worries. I'm actually proud to announce that I'm going to be, for the first time in my fantasy Premier League career, moving some Spurs into my lineup for the last few weeks.
Oh boy, that sounds like just a reverse jinx waiting to
No,
happen.
I'm banking on it.
Other ones, United, Burnley, 1-1. Burnley, they're doing what they can to stick around. We'll see. There's a couple big games, one of which we'll talk about this week, that will dictate that. On the other hand, Everton, big win over Brentford this week, 1-0. Huge in terms of Everton sticking around the Premier League, which I've said it before. This would feel really icky if they got relegated, just given the points deductions and all that. Let's go to weekend preview. We're going to skip over power rankings weekend preview, since we do have Chelsea versus Spurs on Thursday. The two big games in the title race are on Saturday. Arsenal hosting Bournemouth, City hosting Wolves. I mean, listen, if either one of those teams drop points, I think everybody will be shocked. So I think the bigger talking point, if we're going to look forward, is Spurs, right? I mean, we play Liverpool this week, which turns out isn't quite as important.
This is redemption from that bullshit that happened earlier this year.
Fair
that
enough.
is what this week
Listen,
is.
revenge is always fun.
I've been waiting. This has been one of those like Billy Madison moments. I got the lipstick on. I'm circling something on my calendar. Ever since that bullshit in September, I've been waiting on this game this week. So if you think I'm not going to be getting up for this, even out of the title race, you're nuts.
That's fair. And you know what? Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about that. Vengeance probably will be yours. We go to Anfield. We never play well at Anfield. But thankfully, that's not the one that really matters for Spurs. The big question here is, assuming Arsenal beats Bournemouth and City beats Wolves, there's a huge game coming up involving Tottenham, and that is when we play City. And that would be on the, May 14th. Is that's the second to last week of the season?
Yeah.
Okay, second to last. I mean, basically that's City's toughest game on paper, going to Tottenham on May 14th.
So it's a Tuesday night. If you remember the home game you played on a weekday night against City a few 2 years ago, was it? Or no, that was last season.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, I remember being in England and people were flying in like just when the score's changing because it was happening so fast. That was one of the games of the season. But you went at them. And I don't think Ange, from what we've seen, has any intention of doing anything differently. So that game, hold on, because that's going to be crazy, I think, genuinely.
That and it's like, as a Spurs fan, what are we hoping for? What are we looking for? Because I'll be honest,
that's the question.
I know I've heard arguments going both ways. If Ange throws out our fucking U19s, I would be absolutely fine with it. I would
God,
completely fine with it. I know that's a controversial. Oh, look at your mentality.
Yeah, what would happen? Let's talk that through. What would happen?
First of all, he's never going to do that.
No, I know, but what if like Mikey Moore started?
He would get killed. He's gonna have to put his first. I don't think that Ange even has this thought in his mind.
He'd make himself a legend forever.
He would, but he'd get killed for it. It's sort of like the two sides there, where if he puts his first 11 out there, I mean, you could say it's the easy way to go, but it just makes more sense. I'm not saying that Ange doesn't care about the North London Derby or beating Arsenal, but I don't think it's like as deeply ingrained in him as it is like all, lifelong fans of Tottenham. So like, I get it. I get that, people can throw their slings and arrows at Spurs fans when we say, I just hope they lay down and die, and let City win that game, because that's absolutely what I want.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing.
Everybody would say that. And the people who are like saying, Spurs fans, oh, it's a loser mentality and all that. You'd say the same goddamn thing if the shoe's on the other foot. I want us to lose that game. I want us to, just not get injured and not injure City, but just lose that game. And just imagine if we go out and win that goddamn game and hand Arsenal the fucking league. Just imagine that. I mean, like, you can say, oh, it's a loser mentality and all that, but just imagine the shit that we're going to have to live with for the next however many goddamn years.
If we won't be mean. It'll be a lot better than if we won it, really.
I mean, how long have you guys been living off of we won the league at White Hart Lane fucking thing? It's been decades.
White Hart Lane won the league for us. That would be something.
It would be horrible. So listen, if Sonny gets some sniffles, or Van de Ven just sort of something just doesn't feel right in his hamstring, I totally understand it. Not a loser mentality. It's a fuck Arsenal mentality, and I'm 100% on board with that. And fuck you if you disagree. What else? Is there anything else? I mean, like, the other games I wanted to point out. Luton Town plays Everton. This is Luton Town's last hope this weekend.
That's generous.
I mean, if they have a hope, I don't think they do at this point. They have to win that game.
They're only 1 point out.
But at the same time, the other game, Sheffield United hosting Nottingham Forest. That game is
dead.
I mean, like, but it's important. First of all, Sheffield's gone, but it's important for Nottingham Forest because if they lose that game, that should be 3 points. If you look at the rest of their games, they got Burnley away. Not easy. That one's obviously going to be huge.
That's going to be massive.
Chelsea, which God knows what they get out of that. But Sheffield, you got to beat Sheffield. Nottingham Forest has to beat Sheffield this weekend. So 2 huge games at the bottom of the table. So this is actually, I mean, I thought for a second maybe the relegation battle was going to be just one of the worst in recent memory, but actually the points deductions. The script writers, they knew what was going on. They saw it coming. I guess we'll leave it at that. This is a huge weekend coming up. In fact, every weekend going forward really will be. But at the bottom of the table this weekend is be all end all for a couple of these teams.
Mikey, are you worried about Bournemouth?
Yeah, for sure.
You should be. I think you should.
I like Adam Scott a lot.
Not in an Arsenal hate way.
No,
I genuinely think Bournemouth is
not
really a team you want to play right now.
No, Dom Solanke's got how many goals now? I think it's
like 16, 17.
Yeah,
he's got a ton.
Alex Scott's going to be a 40-50 million pound player.
Clyburt's going to go somewhere.
I know they're good players. So yes, I absolutely am. And it's also such a perfect, like, we're paying attention too much and people are talking too much about this City game, and then something like this happens. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, this is the test, right? Like, I know you say you've been there and you definitely know this feeling, but like, you just gotta win the next 3 and try to put blinders on as best as possible. And like, I think the conversation is a little too focused on this Tottenham game, just in general from the fan base. So I really am. I'm urging us to not take this one lightly. So
we are all cherries this week. Go be great.
Cherries.
Go be great. Dare to be great. There.
By the way, in Mexico, I met these guys from Luton Town. They were they were an absolute riot. First of all, just never really seen anyone party like those guys. I saw someone walk up and I was like, is that a Luton Town jersey? And not just anyone in Mexico was wearing a Luton Town jersey. So they were having a good time.
They had a couple beverages
up the town. yeah, they did.
Oh, all right. Quickly around the world, we got Champions League previews, semifinals, first legs coming up this week. And it's gonna be tough. it's gonna be tough to top the quarterfinals from the last round. But this week we'll give it a shot. Bayern hosting Real Madrid on Tuesday, and Dortmund hosting PSG on Wednesday. I honestly got to be honest. I don't know what to expect from these games, especially when we thought the first leg last time around might be kind of quiet, and the first legs were just bonkers. Hopefully, we get more of the same here. I know Dalton, you were leaning towards thinking PSG is going to go through, and I saw a tweet about what Luis Enrique has done so far this season. Talk about quietly. The guy he's on track for a possible quadruple.
That's a great job.
I know we love talking shit about PSG. Well, everybody just sort of loves to joke about PSG, but if he pulls off a quadruple, that would be a hell of a season.
Bayern, they're going to have a shot at it. They're definitely making that final.
Okay, well there you go. You got you're penciling them, or
well, I mean, listen, we had Dortmund in the Arsenal had Dortmund in the group stage, and they are so very, very strong going forward. When Adeyemi's on his day, Brandt, when he wants to play, is legitimately one of the most creative tens that doesn't get discussed in world football. Everyone's talking about Florian Wirtz. It's like that's what Brandt used to be talked about as, and he hasn't really dipped dramatically, and people stopped. I know he's had his fitness issues, whatever, but where you can really get at Dortmund is outside backs. So that happens to just be
Mbappe,
a fucking
just
real big problem. like they don't get out to double enough quickly. They're really, really easy to exploit over there. So hopefully there's a dramatic change in philosophy that sees them sit and try to strike like an old Dortmund side. Because I think if this thing gets stretched, they're in deep, deep trouble.
And then Bayern, Real Madrid, that could be interesting. Real Madrid coming off of just the most quintessential Real Madrid performance to slip by City.
You're right.
Mature
is the word we're going with.
Whatever you want to call it.
They Arsenaled it.
Real Madrid
except they won.
They Champions League.
Advancing is the word. Advancing. We advanced past the City test. That's what that means.
I'm excited about both games. It should be a lot of fun. Tuesday and Wednesday. Also on Tuesday and Wednesday, we got on the other side of the Atlantic. We got the Concacaf Champions Cup semifinal. This is the second leg, though, not the first leg. So Tuesday night, we got Pachuca hosting Club America. That is tied 1-1, going back to Pachuca. And then on Wednesday, we got Columbus heading to Monterrey, up 2-1. That will be interesting. Monterrey is on top of their game, a very tough team. Wilfried Nancy, for obvious reasons, is getting all sorts of flowers for what he's doing with Columbus this season. Not just this season, but last season as well. It's sort of coming into focus given how well he's done in the Champions Cup, which obviously MLS has struggled in this year, especially. I'm interested to see if they can do something down in Monterrey. That is a tough place to go play. MLS teams tend to get spanked down there. So if they can pull that off, that would be a hell of a move. That's on Wednesday night. Let's go Columbus. We are the crew is safe, and let's go be great yourselves. All right, and then we'll bring it home. Stoppage time. So we will start with Ivan Toney's best bets, obviously, where the overtrain is hot. We're not cooking with thermonuclear gas, but we're close. We're up there. We went 4-1 last week. The only loss was on Saturday. Schalke and Dusseldorf 0-2 did not come through, but all the other games came through. We had a Greek game. We had a Liga MX Femenil game. We had an A-League game, and then we had a second division of Austria. So we were all over the place last week. Came back 4-1, not bad at all. So let's go get more. That's what it's all about. So this week's Overtrain, five-a-side picks. We're going to start on Wednesday, where we will go to my favorite league overall, back to the A-League, Australia, where the Central Coast Mariners hosting Adelaide United. That that game might end up 19 to 25. They play absolute volleyball when they play. Thursday, we're going to go to the Europa Conference League. Aston Villa hosting Olympiacos. I expect Aston Villa to carry the over by themselves, but you never know. Olympiacos could get 1 or 2 as well, and that would just be gravy. Friday, we're going to go to the Ireland in the first division, which is actually the second tier. Cobb Ramblers hosting Bray Wanderers. Love that one. Saturday, we're going to go to the Frauen Bundesliga, not just the Bundesliga, the Frauen Bundesliga. We're Hoffenheim hosting Eintracht Frankfurt. And then Sunday is an easy one. Liverpool hosting Spurs. That one is going to be a track meet. I assume probably a lot of them will end up in our goal. I'll just be honest. And maybe we'll get a few as well. So I expect all 5 of those to win. Overtrain. Let's stay hot. Let's stay on track and go win some more monies. Okay, Mikey, who you got for us this week?
I'm going to share with you one of my favorite bets that I take all the time. Very rarely does it hit, but he's my favorite player that's not an Arsenal player. And it's a bet that I think is crazy undervalued because he does attempt plenty of shots. If you know him, you love him. Fede Valverde, 2 shots on goal is 12-1 plus 1,200. The number is usually astronomical. I usually take it every single time. Fede Valverde, 2+ shots in the game coming up this week. Midweek Champions League, 12-1.
Oh, I was going to say, so this is the midweek, not the
this
not
is
the game
Champions
on Saturday.
League fixture. Yep.
Okay.
2 shots on goal. He lets a couple fly. Especially sometimes late in the game still, bring in an extra fullback and move him up to the right wing, and he'll get to maraud around a little bit more. So he'll play 90 always, and they like to find the ball. They like to put the ball at his feet in the final third. So I think it's good value.
All right, there you go. Listen, nobody
root with me on Twitter. We're going all
player
in.
bets, kind of like
this one's hitting.
All right, Fede Valverde on, I think that's Tuesday, right? They play Bayern on Tuesday. Okay, Dalton, what do you got for us?
Yeah,
keeping it simple here. Roma Leverkusen in the Europa League. Both teams to score minus 130.
Ooh.
Roma have been sneaky fun under Daniele De Rossi. And then going up against Leverkusen scoring. It might be the 99th minute plus 50, but they're scoring. And I think Roma at home, I think they're going to score too. They've been really good under De Rossi, so I like that a lot.
Fair enough. I mean, and the fact you said the 90 plus whatever makes all the sense in the world, because yet again, Leverkusen did it in the 90+6 this past week to get a last second draw and continue their incredible unbeaten season. Just the way they've done it too, with all these late goals. We talked about it last week, and then they did it once more. Wow. Just incredible. I don't want to actually jinx it until they actually finish the season, and we can talk about sort of where they come on or where they land in the pantheon of great seasons. But shout out Leverkusen. Jeez Louise. Okay, now let's finish it up here. Everybody's favorite segment, GOAWs. Dalton, you want to start us off?
I can start us off. I referenced him earlier, but I'm going to go with Chris Wood because for aforementioned reasons, that if I was, as the kids call it, hate watching that City Nottingham Forest game, I would have lost my mind. And there's always those moments coming down in the title race that you are going to remember forever, one way or another. If Arsenal wins it, you're going to look back and be like, screw you, Chris Wood. It doesn't matter. You sucked against City and should have scored 5. Or Arsenal won't win the league, and they're going to look back on this, and they're going to be like, imagine if Chris Wood could have scored one of those, and it would have changed everything. So Chris Wood, because he might be remembered 25 years from now, not for anything else he did other than maybe shitting the bed against City.
He actually missed a sitter against Spurs just the other week as well, when he tried to hammer it through the goal, and he slammed it into the post. Yes, Nottingham Forest, we didn't talk about it, but I think they lost 2-0 or whatever they lost to City, but they had so many opportunities in that game.
Oh my God.
Point blank. Crazy that they didn't score. Okay, good shout, Chris Wood. Mikey, who you got for us?
Hang on, I gotta pull it up. I bookmarked it. So former Port Vale player Ryan Burge.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know
Oh
this
yeah, I
story.
know.
Hates Port Vale. Really despises the club. He seems to consider himself like a Robbie Savage type, the outspoken, brash media personality, career hopeful. He rented a plane
Well,
and
whoa, whoa,
flew
whoa,
it
hold on.
himself.
Before you
Yeah,
get
go
to
ahead.
that, do you know how long he's been like sitting on this hate? This is
Tell
from
us.
2013. So this is when all this shit went down. See, in 2013, he was playing for Port Vale, and apparently it started with like the bus was supposed to pick him up somewhere, and it didn't pick him up. And then like they went back and forth about like why he wasn't at the game or he was there late or whatever else. This is from 2013. This is where the hate stems from, and this is what the length
A
that he
true
went to.
grudge man. A true
11
grudge man.
years later, yes, I'm sure you
11
appreciate
years.
that.
He worked hard, got his pilot's license, flew a plane over their ground with a banner mocking their relegation from League One.
The day they got relegated, it
Yep.
was that is
Not
just...
only was it some dickhead flying a banner across your ground mocking you, it's your own former dickhead who has been holding this grudge in for 11 years. So my hat goes off to a true hater, immediate inductee to the Hater Hall of Fame. Ryan Burge, you have a spot at the pub table anytime. I want to hear who else he hates. I want to know what he thinks of his electricity company.
11 years.
Yeah.
He's been sitting on that for 11 years, and he's
I just
willing
want
to
to
get a
talk to
pilot's
him.
license.
He's probably a huge dickhead, and I'm probably giving him exactly what he wanted. But hopefully, he doesn't start tweeting like former other dickhead Joey Barton.
Yes, fair enough.
It feels like that's next.
Hey, he's on the road. He's on that road.
He's definitely gatewaying his way into being a massive cunt.
All right, my turn. I got two honorable mentions. One goes to Nico Williams from Athletic Bilbao, who was apparently getting just racially abused left, right, and center by Atletico fans this week. He told the ref, who did nothing about it. So he went and took matters into his own hands and scored against Atletico. So you gotta love that move. No better way to shut up the true haters, the racist haters, than do that. Brighton. This is an honorable mention for Brighton's offensive unit at large, because they scored one goal in all of April. One goal. And you know how they did it? It was that heinous own goal where the Burnley keeper just like let the ball dribble, like literally kind of trickle under his foot into the goal. That was their only goal in the month of April. Incredible. When you need it the most, coming up that small. I know they've got injury issues, but still. But my actual goal this week goes to Ramzan Kadyrov. This guy is something special. I think, yeah. So he's a Chechen warlord. And
good start.
Already we're getting into the fun stuff there. He not only is a Chechen warlord, but he also owns a team, Akhmat Grozny. And I think Grozny is the capital of the whatever Russian Chechen enclave. Maybe it's Chechnya. Clearly, I don't know my geopolitics very well here. But so basically, this team, Akhmat Grozny, they're in a relegation scrap at the moment. And this past week, they were playing FC Sochi, which is also in the relegation scrap in the Russian Premier League. So it just turned out that 14 players, which is their entire FC Sochi's entire roster, came down sick like an hour before kickoff. Also, like 5 people in the coaching staff as well. So they came down sick right before this game against Akhmat Grozny that was must win for this team to hopefully get out of the relegation zone or stay out of the relegation zone. The Russian Premier League decided that FC Sochi had to play the game, so they went on to play with half their team incapacitated and lost. So Akhmat Grozny got the win, and FC Sochi is saying, "Oh, we were poisoned, we're all this stuff." Were they? Who knows? It seems kind of suspicious. And, when you got a Chechen warlord as your club owner, obviously it's just going to add a little fuel to the fire. Now, on the other hand, FC Sochi is the worst team in the Russian Premier League. So whether they really needed to, poison FC Sochi to win that game, seems a little questionable, but whatever. And it's sort of, there's pluses and minuses of having a Chechen warlord as your club owner. And one of the minuses is when the whole opposition team comes down sick, you're going to start to think, maybe some funny business is afoot here. But listen, you got to do what you got to do to get out of the relegation zone in the Russian Premier League. So shout out to Ramzan Kadyrov and Akhmat Grozny. We'll see if they make it out alive this season. One team, quickly before I go, that did not make it out are Dorks, our beloved Dorks. They got relegated from I think from the National League into non-league football. You hate to see that. Hopefully they bounce right back up. We love our Dorks, Dorking Wanderers, everybody. Support, gotta love them. So shout out to the Dorks. Sorry you guys couldn't make it, but hopefully you'll be back next season. And that's all we got. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dalton. Thank you, Mikey. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next week. Bigger, better, faster, stronger. See you guys then. Cheers.